welcome to the Everyday Board Game Podcast with your hosts, Daniel.
And Daniel.
Daniel, we took a week off, hadn't we?
Yeah, I had a honey-do list. So.
Yep. It lasted a whole week, and hopefully, and you're not quite done yet, right?
Oh, yeah, I still got to put up a bed in the other room. Yeah. I got to put up a TV in the other room.
The joys of being a husband, right? The honey-do list is infinite.
Yeah.
It's like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's infinite.
Yeah, well, they just announced all the way through Phase 6 there, so...
Wow, that's a really big honey-do list.
And my honey-do list is bigger.
That's so sad.
And I finally got my contacts back, so I'm not wearing glasses or half blind.
And now I don't have to read the Facebook post for you.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, did you post it this week?
No, I didn't.
Well, this is awkward.
Well,
so...
the big thing for me is that with these topics... it's interesting, but we need the poll more so for the top 8 debate. Right. So if we forget doing it on this one, it's fine.
Right.
It's the top 8 debate. It's where it's important.
But it'd be interesting. Yeah, this was different. I mean, I would have liked to hear the audience's.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're with us live, our good friend Luminous is with us, and yes, MCU is dead to you too.
It never even started for him.
Yeah, it's true. It was never born for me. I mean, I'm just as big of a fan as Batman as anybody else, but the Marvel I'm sorry. No, I was actually thinking about that the other day. I was like, out of all of the superhero movies, I actually did like Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rising. Those were actually really good.
Well, that was the Christopher Nolan films. Those are some of the best superhero films of all time. Because the thing about what he did, he grounded it a lot in realism. Yeah. So when you see in the Dark Knight when they flip the semi-truck, they're actually flipping the semi-truck.
The same with like the building blowing up.
Yeah.
Like that was one of my favorite things about that when spoilers by the way. Spoiler alert. If you haven't seen the movie, why?
The flipping of the semi-truck is in the trailer.
Right. But no, the building where he reacts and where he's like doing that and then he reacts, there was actually a delay and that was a real reaction apparently. And he played it off so well. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, so it's quite interesting for me. I like most superhero movies. I'm a big superhero nerd. Mm-hmm. I do have to say the newest Batman movie was pretty good.
Yeah?
I really enjoyed it. It actually showed, which is weird, it had Robert Pattinson in it. So everybody was like saying, oh no, the Twilight guy as Batman. I'm like...
Batman is a sparkly vampire now. Yeah.
But I'm like... Actually, he's been a good actor. I've seen some of like his movies past Twilight, and they were really good. Some of them are just quite strange.
I think I know which one you're talking about, like Metropolis or something. No, not Metropolis. There's one by I want to say it's a Scorsese film.
Oh yeah,
I saw him. He's just like this billionaire driving around like in a limo. Yeah, it was Robert Pattinson.
Yeah,
I remember I watched it because it seemed kind of surreal, and I hated it. But that's the only experience I had.
The one that he just did recently, it was an art house film with William Dafoe in it as well, and I think it's called The Lighthouse. That one, it was so surreal.
Oh, I've heard The Lighthouse is interesting.
It's interesting. It's a great concept. It was so weird.
Maybe I might have to watch that after.
Don't watch it with the kids.
Let me ask you, Illuminous brought it up. Have you seen anything of Sandman yet?
No, I haven't. I want to watch it. It's on Netflix now. They just released it. But that thing has been in purgatory for so long that they finally got off the ground. I'm interested in watching it.
I was a massive fan of Sandman growing up, and I knew of it.
I like the comic. I really enjoyed that one. I like Neil Gaiman. Haven't read a lot of his stuff, but what I've read is pretty good. The big one was the Gods one. I haven't read that one, but I heard that one's really good. Yeah, American Gods. That one's really good from what I hear. The show seemed interesting. I watched a little bit of it. I have listened to some of the book. I have the audiobook for it. It's intriguing. So
then, going on pop culture now, have you seen House of Dragon yet? The first episode?
I was probably going to watch it tonight.
I watched it.
How was it?
It was good. It was intriguing.
But here's my problem with this one. The reason I'm hesitant watching this is because I was so disappointed with the 8th season.
Yes. No, okay. Yes. So, Elephant in the room.
I want to watch it.
I get it. I totally get it. That, I think, was actually a better thing for House of Dragons because I was just thinking they better not mess this up. Like, that was the only thing I thought when I watched the episode, and I was like, okay, I see where you're going with this. And we finished it. And, of course, we had my mutual friend Jim over, and we were all watching it. And half of the episode we were just making smart aleck remarks. Like, that's nothing new for us. But I really did genuinely enjoy it. Mm-hmm. I do encourage you to check it out. I don't know if it's gonna keep going as fast as it is, or keep that same momentum up. Mm-hmm. Because I mean, if you compare it to the first episode of Game of Thrones, that was fantastic. That you had everybody hooked. This was like, okay, that was cool.
For me personally, with this one, the only reason I want to watch it is because it's got Matt Smith in it. I really like Matt Smith as an actor. Matt Smith.
Get it? I made a Doctor Who reference. How do you like me for pop culture lately, huh?
And you haven't even watched Doctor Who.
I've seen 2 episodes, and I don't think it was that Doctor Who. Matt Smith. I'm pretty sure it was the guy with the really short hair.
David Tennant.
Probably.
Which, by the way, David Tennant, great in Doctor Who, makes the best bad guys. He was oh man, he was a bad guy in I think one of the Harry Potter movies, but he was also a bad guy in the Netflix, I think it was Jessica Jones. He played the Purple Man. Oh man, he played it so well. You really wanted to strangle him. That's how really good he was.
I love that.
But
my still all-time favorite bad guy actor is Paul Giamatti. He plays just the absolute worst people. Like there's some but he seems normal. He just seems like a really frustrated, crazy old man in every role he does, and you're like I want to like you, but man, I hate this guy.
Did you know Paul Giamatti is officially now, spoiler alert, in the MCU?
Okay, no, but
because
that's all right.
He played.
So is a Bumblebee Chicken Scratch.
Because he played
Benedict Cumberbatch. Sorry.
He played Rhino in the Amazing Spider-Man, the Garfield movies, which, hey, it's been out for a year. Everybody knows what happened because they talked about it ad nauseum, where they actually drew all the Spider-Man movies into one universe now.
Oh, yeah.
And so, technically, he was in the second movie.
Yeah. That's...
God. Speaking of that Spider-Man, where they were talking about all that, they spoiled that the weekend of, and it's like it even got spoiled before the movie came out. It's like, come on.
You know what my favorite part about that entire movie was, and this isn't, I mean, technically it's a spoiler, but it's really just like a quick, like, blink and you miss it joke. When Spider-Man busts out his phone and it's cracked, because everyone always says, oh, you got Spider-Man edition, right? I love that. I was like, I see what you did there. Yes, that made the movie worth it at the theater.
The thing is like that was my big issue, and why I have always such a big issue about spoilers. This movie was spoiled before it even came out.
Yeah.
Because everybody's like, oh, this is happening, and this comes out and it's saying like these 2 guys are in it. It's like, wow, that ruins the issue with this one. It's like,
and you know, if only you could like go back and like reverse the spoiler and relive that first time you watched it. Yeah,
exactly.
Which goes into our episode today.
Nice
like
segue.
What I did there. Thank you. Our episode today is what games would you go back and relive your first play of it? And this was interesting. Like when you first proposed that idea, I was like, that doesn't make any sense. And I looked back at your shelf. I'm like, oh, I like this. Yeah, let's do that. I got really genuinely excited when I thought of that. I was like, okay. Because there's a lot of different ways. And I love it when we come up with ideas where there's a lot of different ways to take it. Mm-hmm. You know, there's ways where it's like, okay, there could be good or bad reasons, right? Yeah. There. Who knows what we'll put down on our list. I mean, we obviously do.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Let's see what we talk about. But before we talk about the rest of our topic, we have something really exciting to talk about.
Giveaway.
That's right. We have here a brand new copy of
you cannot
Just
say that.
One. Just One, the Spiel des Jahres winner of 2019. You know how we are with Spiel des Jahres winners. We only have one copy to give away. And we're only going to give this copy to just one lucky winner. I'm so sorry. This is not going to get any older. All right, so as always, the way this works is for our giveaway. We will ship it anywhere into the contiguous 48 states of the United States. Sorry if you're international, but you know, still enter. We'll figure it out. We'll contact you. We'll figure it out. But here's what you got to do. In order to enter in one of these contests, first, Can it send it to Mars? I said international, not interplanetary. I'm sorry. UPS has really hiked their rakes.
Oh yeah.
Into interstellar areas.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Would you just keep talking?
No, I want to draw attention to it. No, we can edit this out.
I'm not editing it out.
Hey, that's your choice, not mine. You're the editor. So, I was trying not to be rude about it, but all right. Anyway, so Just One is an amazing cooperative game, and the way this is going to work is, first off, if you are a subscriber to us on YouTube, you will get an automatic free ticket, guaranteed. If you follow us on Twitch, you get an automatic free ticket.
I think I have that paperwork still.
If you follow us on Twitter, you get an automatic free ticket.
So if you follow us on all 3 platforms, you got 3 tickets.
That's right. But here's your real chance to up your ante. Every episode, we're going to give away a free keyword.
For the next 4 episodes.
Those 4 episodes, you can email us at everydayboardgames2020@gmail.com. We will give away the keyword here shortly in a bit. But that's how you're going to enter to do this. So listen to our podcast, listen for that keyword, and then enter by emailing us.
Alrighty.
All right. That was exciting.
Other than the fact that you're making fun of me as I'm struggling and I'm telling you, like, keep going.
I was hoping I wouldn't have to do the Heimlich on you. I don't think I do very well at it.
First off, you wouldn't have to do the Heimlich. It was liquid.
I didn't know that. You could have had an ice cube in there, and I can't wait for it to melt. Come on. I want to save your life. Not wait for global warming.
This is not iced coffee. This is hot coffee.
I didn't. You think I
saw me make it.
No, we were chatting. I thought that was your wife making it. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention.
She doesn't even drink coffee.
Again, I don't know these details. Anyway,
back to Just One
topic.
Let's go ahead and give them the code word now, and we'll give it at the end of the podcast as well.
All right, that sounds good. This code word comes straight from the box. This code word today is hazelnuts. That's right, you heard it here. Hazelnuts.
So again, to give us the code word, put in the subject giveaway, and then put in the code word in the body, hazelnuts, and we'll enter you in the podcast, or in the giveaway.
The giveaway, that's right. All right. So today we were talking about a simple topic of what games would we like to relive our first experience. But before we talk about our first experience in games, let's talk about games that we've been playing lately. Current experiences. Daniel, what have you been playing lately?
Let's see here. I've been playing quite a few games. In fact, it was actually hard to narrow down just 4 games.
Right. Yeah. We had to just roll some dice and go, all right, those 4 it is, right?
So 2 of them I decided to actually put games that I've talked about before, but I just recently got back to the table after a while. And then 2 of them are new. So let's start with the games that I've played already. First one is, I had a friend who had a friend come into town, and they specifically was asking, they want to try Disney Villainous. Well, they told that friend, I got someone who owns everything for Disney Villainous, and we could have him bring it over, and you could test it out before you buy it. This way you know how to play, because it's not as easy as you think it is. It looks like a very simple game. And I was telling them how you described it. I can't remember exactly how you worded it, so why don't you let the podcast know how it was worded when you were talking with your coworker?
Wow. Way to put it on me. I don't remember off top. No, I believe it is... It gives the guise of being a simple family game because of the theme, but it is incredibly deceptive considering that.
Yes, exactly.
And that's, like, I mean, Scythe is a complicated game, right?
And you know it is.
Yeah, and the core mechanism that they have from Scythe, which moving the piece on your board and choosing a panel of actions, that's essentially the main mechanism of Villainous. That's nothing that anybody has
seen
as well. I mean, they've seen it, right? But it's not a common thing in non-modern board games.
And the fact that Villainous plays so asymmetric, I would never consider it a gateway game, but this is the one that was specifically requested for someone who's not a hardcore gamer like you and I, and I wouldn't even say a casual gamer. They just saw it and like, hey, this looks pretty good. Yeah. I want to try it because they're big into Disney.
Yeah.
And so I took it over there and we played it. First off, I would never play with 5 people again. That is a lot. 4 for me is probably the best sweet spot, maybe 3. Yeah. Just because of
I think it's a great 3-player game.
Just because of the downtime. I mean, 4 is fine.
2 is pretty good, too.
Yeah, 2 is not bad. And another thing is, you have to be very careful, especially when it's a new player, who they play as. Now, we explained...
John is always my go-to.
Yeah. And so we were explaining that to her, but she really wanted to play the Evil Queen from one of the expansions. Fine. Mm-hmm. They're not, like, super difficult.
No, Evil Queen is okay.
But the thing about it is, it's so asymmetrical. And from what I was looking online, the 2 best ones, one is Prince John, I think the other one is Maleficent. Because all you have to do is get your stuff out for Maleficent. It went fine. It was a great game. We had a good time playing it. Like I said, I would never play it with 5 people ever again, just because the downtime from after my turn is done and I have to wait like 4 other people is astronomical.
You know what I found is one of the best ways to demo the game? Is I would teach it at 2, first off. And then I have them play as one character. Like, each player play as, because it's all new to them.
Yeah.
And understand it. And then halfway through it, stop them and have them switch.
Yeah.
Because that's really, like, one of the best things to do with them is because one of the biggest parts of playing well is knowing how to prevent other people from getting their goals.
Yeah.
If you've never played with those goals, you don't know how it is.
Especially, because
when you swap it like that,
it can be mean, because when you finally realize when someone is close to winning, everybody starts picking on them.
Right.
And the thing is,
and rightfully so.
Yeah, the new player won the game, but a big part of it is because we were all of us were teaching the game, explaining how she should use her cards, how they should use the fate and stuff like that, the track. My wife enjoyed it because she was playing Scar, and she's like, I could see how it's difficult, but it's not that difficult compared to some of the other characters, because all you need to do is beat so many characters to get a succession pile, and if you get 15 plus, you win. Yeah. So it's like Prince John, but you have to next step Prince John.
Okay.
So because you have to defeat characters, and once you get 15, you win.
Yeah.
Prince John is all about power. So if he gets
20 power.
Yeah, if he gets 20 power, he wins. And so we were talking about that. I was playing Hades, and I was trying to get my Titans into Olympus. So it was fun. We all decided to take more complicated characters that we haven't played before. This way, we're slightly at a disadvantage for the asymmetric because we have to learn how to play that character.
Yeah.
And to make it easier on her, and then we were also explaining, because the thing about the Evil Queen is that she's about making poison, and she doesn't have any allies to help her defeat, except for I think the Huntsman or something like that, but you have to poison everybody, and your goal was to poison Snow White. Well, once she got the engine building process of it, she was just throwing poisons left and right. It was like all her power basically became poison, and she was using that poison to defeat everybody, and it's like, well, okay, now she got it, and now that after she started getting it, we started throwing fate on her.
Yeah,
we all in a kind of an agreement, without even speaking out loud, decided not to do any fate on her in the very beginning of the game and pick on us 4 in general. So I actually threw fate at my friend Maria, my friend Angel, my wife, and they were picking on me a lot. And they're like, "Well, you have a Titan out." And I'm like, "I got 1 Titan. I need 3." Yeah. So. But yeah, we did all that, and after a while, then we realized, okay, now we're going to start throwing fate. 2 people almost won the game, and one was the one who wanted to play it, actually won it. My wife almost got it. I think there's a couple that were close to their goals. I had 2 Titans out. One of my other Titans, or the last, I think 2 or 3 Titans were at the bottom of my deck. So I'm like, I wasn't close to winning this one.
Right.
But I did really enjoy it, so horrified.
Horrified?
I mean, Villainous.
Spoilers.
Spoilers.
I know what your next one is. All right, so
yeah,
it's all right. We'll talk about that in a bit. My first one that I wanted to talk about was a game that you and I played. This is the only one I'm going to talk about from that game night that you and I did. That got 5 games off of my shelf of shame. Which, by the way, thank you again for that, because that was a great game.
Actually, they were pretty good games. I think there was only one, and I wouldn't really say it was a disappointment. It just wasn't like up to par with some of the other ones.
Exactly. After playing all those others, and it was Tortuga, the card game. I mean,
that's the one you're pulling?
No, that was the one that wasn't as good as the others. I mean, but it was fine. It was better than, like, you know. I just played a game called Cantaloupe. It's about a cantaloupe or about counting, and yeah. Anyway, like, I got it from the same sale, and that one was much worse. So, I mean, Tortuga, it was fine.
Okay.
But the game I wanted to pick specifically was Rajas of the Ganges Dice Charmers, the roll and write game.
That was really good.
I've had this game since two Tucson runs for us ago, and finally got it. We finally played it, and you and I are big Rajas of the Ganges.
We love. Yeah, you own Rajas of the Ganges, right?
No,
neither one of us actually own it.
That's why
we love it.
If we see it at this used bookstore that we're going to go to in a couple weeks, we will fight to the death over it. Like,
oh yeah,
there will be one Daniel fewer on that week's podcast.
I might have to get the Game Head Geek to help me join the podcast.
Maybe. I mean, that's such a cool game.
Yeah,
I like it a lot. So when we got the roll and write ready, we read through the rules. All of it made sense because we're familiar
with Rajas.
Yeah, and we played it, and there was so many choices. There was so many combos. There was so much fun stuff to do. Everything you do will lead you to a path where you could do a lot more stuff all of a sudden. Yeah. And then there was turns where, and it was consistent too. Like sometimes you just take a turn and you're like, okay, done.
Yeah.
And like in other roll and writes, like, okay, done. And then, oh, I have a combo. All right, done.
Yeah.
No, this was like, oh, I'm gonna do this, which will let me do this, which will let me do this, which will let me do this. Now you may take your turn. Oh, it's mine again. Now I'm doing this and this and this and this and this. Right? It felt so satisfying.
Yeah, especially my favorite part of that is when I picked
the drunk elephant.
No, the drunk elephant was hilarious. No, when you were like, oh my god, are you gonna do that? And I had that 3-road, which was like boom, boom, boom. You're like, God, that was such a good move.
Yeah. We're like, it's so engaging too. We're watching other people like, ooh, that's good. That's good. I see what you're doing there. That's really good. Man, if only I was at that position. That's good.
That was a good one. Yeah. Because that T road that basically let me go across here, which let me trigger this one, and let me trigger this one, which allowed me to trigger down here in the river, which already triggered for me on the T road. Yeah. So it was just like,
Yep.
What I really liked about it was the karma.
Yeah.
Where you could actually take a die that was taken away from you and re-roll it.
Yep. Then it becomes available for everybody too.
Yeah.
Like that was the cool part. It's like, yeah, you'll probably take it, but there was a couple times where we rolled it and we're like, oh, that other option's way better. Like, I'm just gonna take that, and then the die that I just unlocked, have it. Yeah. Because we played it as a 2-player game. There's a slight difference in that. I feel like it went faster because of that.
Yeah, I think it would be fine with maybe 3.
Yeah.
And getting any higher player count, the turns wouldn't be as fast.
Well, no matter what, it's gonna be twice. It's gonna take twice as long.
Yeah.
In any 3 or higher, right?
Yeah.
But the only problem, there's only one problem I have with the whole game.
The drunk elephant?
The elephant. And not because of the component itself. The component is beautiful. It's an elephant where you have to put one of the dice on it. But when you build it, the pads are too thick and it doesn't fit in the box. It sits slightly at an angle, and you know how much that stresses me out. It's so annoying, because then if I... so I normally store my games sideways, or at least I used to. Now I'm going to have to go back vertical like this. Or horizontal like this.
Yeah.
And if you have a game like that, then that's all of the games on top of it, putting pressure on that one piece.
Yeah, and that's why you put it on the top.
That's such a bad idea. I don't think that's okay.
Yeah, no, I get you. That's the reason why, like, I don't put the Everdell tree back in.
Right.
That's the reason why. There's a couple things that are just sitting out. Like, I don't even have the Villainous plastic piece in the Villainous anymore, just because I have so much stuff. Yeah, the cauldron. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. That was an amazing game.
Yeah, it was really fun. But that was my first one. The rest will be ones that you haven't heard of yet.
All right. So, though, you already know what my next one is.
Hold on. Was it... It's not one game. No idea.
So I took this is for that same game group. I'm like, okay, Villainous is going to be such a difficult game. I don't want to make them put a bad taste in their mouth just in case it's a little too complicated.
Yeah.
So I took both versions of Horrified.
Okay.
Gave them a choice. Both games are pretty simple. There's some minor issues with the first printing of the original or the second Horrified, but they wanted to play the Universal Monster ones.
Classic. Yep.
Which was great for me. I haven't played it since 2020. I haven't played it in 2 years. So I'm like, all right, I busted out. We played with the basics. We played Dracula, Creature for the Black Lagoon, and we did amazing. And the fact that that person also has played Pandemic, so she's like, oh, this is kind of like Pandemic. I'm like, yes, all right, I don't have to explain it too much for you.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, except for drawing 2 bad cards, we draw 1 bad card.
Yeah.
And so we really enjoyed it. I have to say, because I just played it again after also playing American Monsters in about in October time, I do like the first one better. Universal Monster, hands down. I just love how simple, so clean. And because I'm a Universal Monster movie who watched all the movies.
Yep.
I get the little references by the characters that are on there. I'm like, okay, this one's in Dracula. Okay, this is not any of the Universal Monster movies, just the originals. But that one is basically Abbott and Costello meets the Frankenstein monster.
Yep.
So it does a lot of good things for me personally that the cryptid one does not.
Yep.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I love cryptids, and the fact that they made it where it's simple enough to make expansions for it now. Basically, you could do like European cryptids and stuff like that for it. It does a wonderful job there, but the monster movies just, so good.
Yeah. Yeah, it tugs that heartstring a bit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so that was...
Horrifying.
I actually genuinely already forgot the first one you said. And I was gonna make that joke. It's like, and that was, and say, insert first title here.
Oh, it's right above you, Villainous.
Oh, Villainous. And that was Villainous.
That's the Star Wars Villainous above his head, though.
So, you and me have a project planned here in a few weeks.
Yeah.
We're gonna be doing like an all-day gaming in a way. And now I'm back to one game ahead of you again.
That has to be the newest one that just came out.
Suspects.
Yeah.
I got it in the mail on Friday.
Got it played Friday.
I've
heard good things about this one.
Yeah, so what makes it different, the way it works is it's called Museum Suspects. It's by Phil Walker Harding. It is a deduction game where you are... Unfortunately, no, Rising Sun is not involved in Luminous. I got 8 games off of my shelf of shame, and that was not one of them. I apologize.
That's not even on your shelf of shame.
Rising Sun?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's not even on my shelf of shame, but it's one that's on my playlist. Want to playlist. But anyway, am I thinking Red Rising again? No, I'm not. Okay. I'm not getting them mixed up yet. Yeah, just since we brought it up. Yeah, so this game, Museum Suspects, there's 16 suspects, and they all have a combination of a different background, different accessory, different hat, different animal type, whatever.
Yeah.
And there's 24 of the cards, and you only deal out 16 of them. But then there is 32 deduction cards, and they're in 8 different categories, each with 4 cards. You shuffle up each category, and then you deal out 1 card from each category. So you're going to know definitely what background it's not in for one of those 4. Okay. So it might either have like a green, a yellow, a blue, or a purple background, right?
Okay.
And one of those cards is not what they're in. So all of these cards that you would look at, normally they would point you to who is the suspect, where instead this tells you what makes it impossible to be a suspect. So if I look at a card and it has a blue background, it's definitely no blue background characters, okay? Which I know is kind of common, but normally it just straight up tells you, oh, it's not Colonel Mustard, right? It'll say, oh, I have Colonel Mustard, and I know he's not the one. This just tells you part of the picture, which is definitely interesting. But then after you look at that clue card, you're faced with a decision. If there wasn't a token already on it, you have the numbers 1 through 6 twice. You're only ever going to take 6 turns throughout the whole game. And so one of those turns is looking at a clue card. And then if there is no token on it, you place one of your number tokens face up on it. So let's say I put a 3.
Okay.
That means in order for anybody else to look at that clue, they have to put a minimum 3 token on it.
Okay.
Minimum
3, okay.
They might still raise it, but minimum must be 3. Because I'm thinking, okay, that might be kind of an important thing. If I put a 5 on something, oh, you better believe that's either important or I'm really bluffing you. The other category is after you do that and look at a clue card, then you take one of your number tokens and place it face down on any character. And those are going to be your potential points if they become a suspect. Now, immediately you're thinking, okay, so how does the math work out? How do you figure out who's the suspect? Here's the cool part, and this is what I really, really liked about it. There are 3 possible outcomes to the suspects.
Okay.
Either one character is the suspect,
Okay.
Then you flip over all the tokens that's on that character card. Whoever has the most tokens on it wins.
Okay.
Done. Second outcome. There are 2 or more suspects. In which case you reveal all the tokens on all of them that are suspects. Highest combined total from any single player wins. Or there is also a 17th card out, which is the exit. If all 16 get eliminated, which is totally possible, then they escaped, and whoever put the highest tokens on that escape card instead wins. So it's not a perfect deduction game. The way it works is it's not a set in stone kind of idea. It's that there's a decent chance it'll be only 1, but there could always be 2 or even 3. There was 3 in our game, or it could be eliminating everybody, and whoever figures that out and is like, wow, I'm eliminating a lot, I better like start bidding on this like exit. And the fact that you're seeing people bid on them face down, you're seeing what they looked at, what they thought about it. Like, you might even look at a clue card and look at my 3 and go, okay, I'm going to put a 5 on that. It's just to really mess with other people. There's some really cool stuff in this.
That's pretty cool.
It works really well. And, like, of course, putting a higher number on a clue card is important because then that kind of prices people out of it. But that's also your points.
Yeah.
So you don't want to do it too much.
Yeah, exactly.
But then if you only keep your low numbers, then you're dumping them on cards, and you're never going to win with that attitude.
Yeah.
There's so many cool things with Museum Suspects. I mean, just after the 1 play, it's already top half of Phil Walker Harding for me.
Nice. Interesting. I have to check that one out.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to showing you.
All right. Going into my 3rd game. This is one, I think you've played this game before. You just weren't at that game group to play it when I did.
I'll let you know.
And this is an Emerson Matsuuchi game.
I played a few of his.
That is very well produced, but a little bit overproduced for the game that it is.
Is it pretty new?
It's pretty new.
Is it in a cubic box that's really oversized? Yep, I've played it. It's good.
Yeah, Foundations of Rome. That game is so phenomenal. Foundations of Rome is so simple for what it is. As big of a production value, this is like, one of these things is not like the other. You're expecting like this massive production that there's going to be a big, huge, meaty game, and no, this is basically Century Spice Road with big components.
Now I'm going to correct you there.
No, I'm saying like on the simplicity of it.
I get it. You know why I'm really impressed with Foundations of Rome? Is because with Emerson Matsuuchi, he is becoming the new Sid Saxon. He's becoming a modern Sid Saxon. Because Century Spice Road was like almost a direct take on Bazaar. And this is almost a direct take on Acquire. But done much cleaner. Yeah. And it works.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. But I'm just saying, like it's a very expensive game for what it is. Like I said, this is the complexity level of Century Spice Road with the production value of
Gloomhaven?
No, not even Gloomhaven. I was thinking more something like a Cool Mini or Not style, like Rising Sun or Blood Rage or Ankh, for that matter. And it's so simple because all you do is either you're going to pay for a card, you're going to either pay for a card, gain money, or build something out there if you have the places, or upgrade, let's say, like from a 3 to a 4. Yeah. And so you're just sitting there like, come on, give me the card. You know what? I got all this money. $10, give me that card. I don't I want that. It is so good. It was a phenomenal game. Yeah. My big issue is how big that box is in the production on it by itself. I don't have the shelf space for it.
Right, exactly. I hope that they make a pocket edition version of it. Can you imagine just like a little cube about that big?
It's going to be the Dune Imperium size box over here that has the minis in it.
Monopoly hotels and houses in it, you know?
No, but it was phenomenal. I really, really enjoyed it. Everybody who says they played it really liked it. I'm like, yeah, it seemed like it's a good game. It's Emerson Matsuuchi, too. I really like a lot of his stuff. No, it's an amazing game. So much so, our friend has said that after playing it, he went into the newest Kickstarter for like the expansion and stuff like that. And even then, I'm sitting there like, that is too rich for my blood. Yeah. This is coming from someone who spent a lot of money on board games.
We have.
But
we really have.
But the thing is, it's so simple. I don't want to spend that kind of money on it. But it's so good. It was really, really good. It's probably one of my surprises of the year, and probably one of my favorite games that I've played this year.
Yeah. Emerson Matsuchi, man. We need to invite him on the podcast one of these days.
Yeah. So that one was Foundations of Rome.
Foundations of Rome. And yes, I agree with Illuminous. That game is way too much, but on par with Santorini as far as production goes.
Oh yeah.
I agree with that. All right. My next one that I wanted to talk about was a game that I had never even heard of prior to playing it. It's called Endogenesis. That's right. It wasn't mine. I went over to another friend. I'm sorry.
I see how it is.
Yeah, it is. But he invited me over. I played it. I was very impressed with his table mat. I'll tell you about it later. But very impressed with it. Joann's Fabrics sells neoprene. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
I do now. Yeah. And now, guess who has a new table cover? Anyway,
I have to think about doing that.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you the deets here in a bit, all right? But anyway, I went over to a friend of mine's house, and he showed me this game, Endogenesis.
Okay.
And this was a Kickstarter game. I think it's like 2 to 4 players or something. And the way it works is that you all have a communal monster that you're trying to defeat. It's not cooperative. It is very much versus. Okay. You're trying to get like these prisms, these little gem things. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of a dueling game. You're trying to get these prisms. The game is going to end in one of two ways. Either 2 players get 2 gems each, and then you count up your points.
Okay.
Most points wins. Or 1 player gets to 3 gems before anybody else gets to 2. And then they just automatically win. So it's like, that's kind of cool. I like that. So there's always one communal monster. They will give you like shards. What makes it neat is that you're going to be putting like 3 abilities. I know I'm going to use the incorrect terms. I played the 2nd edition, by the way. You put out these cards, and then you have like an ultimate ability. And each of those, you have the ability to spend this energy, these energy tokens that you could discard your cards to do it. And when you get those energy tokens, you spend them on the cards. That will let you do abilities that will let you attack the monsters, which sometimes will have reactions and different things. Crafting your skills, yep, that's exactly where it's at. And I like the upgrading ability. When you get those shards, sometimes you can buy them with cards. Sometimes you could get them by defeating monsters or KOing your opponents. And then you get those shards and then upgrade those abilities. It worked really well. It's not without complaint. I did genuinely like it. I don't think I'm going to buy it myself. And that's because... So what I was just saying is that you have the ability to upgrade your cards. Mm-hmm. So when you defeat monsters or KO your opponents, you get these shard tokens. These shards can be spent to make your cards better. Okay. And so the more shards on a specific card or ability, the better ability it can. It basically replaces some of the text. So one might be like I'm going to do 4 damage to a single enemy. Okay. Or if I upgrade it with 2 tokens, it's going to be 5 damage. Or with 6 tokens, it's going to be, or 4 tokens, it's going to be like 7 damage to one person. Whatever, you get the idea. You upgrade. And it's cool. I enjoy it. There was a couple little quarrels I had with it. Okay. One, yes, you can fight the monsters. But defeating them gets you a shard. But if you don't have enough to defeat them, then you make them really weak for the next player. Oh, okay. So, because the HP is communal. Okay. Secondly, there was way too few of the monsters that had the prisms on it. Like, it took us about 2 hours for a 3-player game. Okay. Which was just too long, honestly. It wasn't bad. I mean, it was a random deck shuffle, so who knows? Maybe there's more in it, but even with random, that's why you don't want it to take that long. And then, so if you just happen to kill a monster, you're like, I have just enough to kill this, let me get a shard, and there's a prism for you who's, like, ready to go. You know, it's kind of random. Yes, you get to see the second card, the next one, so you can decide if you want to do that, but realistically, you're not going to want to do that. More often than not, you want to just kill, get the upgrades, craft your skills, gets better. Overall, fun game. I would play it again. I probably won't buy it.
Okay, it sounds interesting.
Gorgeous production, by the way. It is very pretty.
Nice. From what I heard, it sounded interesting. I had to just step out real quick to get a Pepsi.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
Just gotta do.
Just
All that
indigestion.
choking on the coughing. It happens.
So for my final games, for game to say, this is I think it was our game of the night last week when we played it, and this one is so interesting what it did. It's called Architects of the Coliseum. Pegasus Spiel, right? Or is it Tasty Minstrel?
TMG.
TMG.
Yeah, I think it's both. I think it's
one of them, yeah.
Brought over by TMG.
But it was so good for what it did, because the whole concept of the game is you're building the Coliseum. You need to get resources. You only have a certain amount of resources that you can hold on to, so you're trying to get it going. But my favorite thing of this entire game, the rundown was great. But what happened is when you're trying to get yourself a nice engine and building stuff, whatever you pull to put into your engine, the next resource up is what everybody is producing. Yep. So that was like the coolest thing out of that entire game, because that is so unique.
So imagine Settlers of Catan, but when you do a certain action, you know exactly what's going to produce for everybody.
So it's like, I really don't need more wagon wheels.
Right.
But I could use the wheat that's going to be produced if I pick up that wagon wheel. Yeah. So it's like, do I pick up something? I mean, it would be helpful for me later on. But I really need the wheat, so let's produce the wheat.
Right.
So I'll go pick that up, put it in my engine. This way I can get some wheat producing. It was so good what it did. And then when the Coliseum stuff comes out, you got the points. And then when you get to the end game, when you're getting close to finishing the Coliseum, you get bonus points. So if you put the last piece of the Coliseum, you get 4 points on top of what you already have.
Yep.
So
I thought that was one of the smartest parts about it, is that it incentivizes people to end the game. Because oftentimes in games like that, you're like, okay, no, I want to really aim for like the highest value.
Yeah.
So that way the final blow will be like a really big hit.
Yeah.
No, this is like, no, finish it faster.
Finish it faster.
Like, don't give them a chance to breathe.
Yeah, and the one thing I really, really enjoyed about it is that choice when the rondelle's almost done.
Yeah.
And you get to the point where you could choose whatever you want to produce, but it's for everybody.
Yes.
And you're sitting there looking at mine and looking at yours, and you're like, oh, man, I really need this resource. But
so many times I'm like, man, I need some ore, but you have like 4 of them. I hate you so bad right now. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I also like the fact that the way the wagon wheels work is that it allows you to go to, so you're always beholden to go to the next spot on the rondelle. You can use wagon wheels or spend resources, victory points to move over extra spots, depending on how many spots you want to go. So if you want to move 2 spots, it's either 2 victory points or 2 wagon wheels. So it is good to have extra wagon wheels to get to. There was a point where I used all the wagon wheels I had accrued, so it was 7. This way I can get all the way to this specific thing that I needed to do. And I'm like, do I have the wagon? Yep, I got the wagon wheels for it.
Yeah, and then there was tiles where you could actually expand like how many resources you could hold, which was a cool idea. And I like when the same trigger thing, like when you see the tile that comes down, that's the resource that it produces. If it produces wagon wheels, everyone resets theirs.
It, yeah.
So like, it's still also really good.
And then it's also smart to get as many resource tiles that you possibly can, because they're also bonus points at the end of the game.
Yep.
For whoever has the most in a turn or in a row of each type gets 5 extra points per game. And there was what, 6 or 7
total.
Yeah, 6 total.
Wagon wheels and 4 resources.
And I was lucky enough. I was really going into the resources. So you won 2, and I think I ended up winning 4 of them.
Yeah,
because I had
absolutely destroyed me in that game, and I still absolutely adored it.
Yeah, no, it was a phenomenal game. I really, really enjoyed this one. To the point we were talking about it then, because of Tasty Minstrel, what happened to them. I hope someone else picks this one up and brings it back, because it's that good of a game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, granted, they brought it to the United States for Pegasus Spiel, and so I'm hoping that continues.
Yeah, well,
because this one had like no press. I bought it for one, it was Tasty Minstrel. I generally like their stuff.
Yeah.
And 2, Hausjürgen Verde, Carcassonne, which is my favorite game of all time. I was like, I don't play many of his games.
Yeah.
In fact, now I want to see Fire and Stone, which is one of his.
Yeah, we were talking about that too.
Yeah, I hardly see his games, so I'm like, okay, I know Carcassonne, but what else? I played Mesopotamia back in the day, and I didn't like it that much.
No, but this one was really, really good.
Yeah, he's no longer a one-hit wonder for me, so that's what matters.
Wow, it's moving. It's a slow move for Brass Birmingham.
Yeah, no kidding. It just hit the second spot on the overall ranking on Board Game Geek.
Wow.
The last game I wanted to talk about was a game I also got this week in the mail. It was a Kickstarter game, and I got it to the table on Friday. It's about saving animals from oil spills. The Spill by Smirk and Dagger. Fully cooperative. You are just trying to deal with the animals, or deal with the oil that's slowly spreading out by moving around the map. There's some cool things that it's doing, but mostly it's it's along the same lines as Horrified. If you played Pandemic, you kind of know how this works already, and a lot of it did. A lot of it was really cool.
I think we get a mosquito.
Yeah, I think we do too. But one of the cool things is that oil rig right in the middle. When you drop all the oil dice into it,
yeah,
you have to be careful on how you build it, because when I built it, we put the smaller ones on the bottom, and all the dice just jammed up and waited there. I was like, oh, okay, let me rebuild it. And I wish that there was a way that I could keep it built in the box, and there's not really a realistic way to do it. The insert's pretty good. It can't fit the top half of the oil rig. I might eventually figure something out for that. But Smirk and Dagger really, they've been rock starring it. This is a great follow-up to the Night Cage, which is really the co-op of the previous year. Beautiful. Kwanzai Moria. I don't remember the artist, but pretty well-known artist.
Yeah.
They did, the art's gorgeous on it. There was only one thing I didn't like about it. Oh, by the way, one thing that was really cool. Let me tell you a couple more things. One, you pick a level of difficulty, either 1, 2, or 3, and you have a bunch of objective cards.
Okay.
And you mix up those, and you can pick one at random, or by choice, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's how you decide if you win. But there's always 3 ways to lose. One is if you have 3 of the same type of animal in your sick bay, then you lose. If you have all 6 different types of animal in the sick bay, you lose. And the other one is something else. That's past my memory. But those are. I think it's
if you run out of certain things. Like I think it's the oils.
No, if you run out of oil and you still haven't lost, you win on a technicality.
Oh, okay.
Because you've stopped the oil from spilling out. Because then at that point it would just be rinse and repeat until you're done.
Yeah.
So, but spill outs. Once a column or a sector has 3 dice in it, it becomes a spill out. And at the end of a turn, if you have 6 or more, you're...
Yeah, I remember it was something like that, because when he was showing it to us at Gamma.
Yeah, exactly. And so the way it works is real simple, but there is, you're just going in a circle, doing some actions, hoping for the best. The weather dice are absolutely annoying, which they're gorgeous little D6s, and you drop it in, and it will have normally a really bad effect. Multiple times we had the one where you drop another 3 dice all of a sudden.
Yeah.
That was brutal. At the beginning of the game, you get to decide your resources that you can use throughout the game. Mm-hmm. And by getting every 3 dice you remove from the game board entirely. Because you have a choice of either putting them back in the bag for 1 action or for 3 action points, you can remove it from the game. Okay. And so with some objectives, you need to do that. And once every 3 of those you get an extra action cube, which is this little orange cube thing that you put on one of your resources to activate it. Or each set of different animals you get also does that. So a bunch of really smart, cool things that it does. Here's the part that I don't like about it.
Okay.
And this is a very minor quibble, and this is the exact same argument I had against Night Cage. You must play 4 players. We played as a 3-player game, and there was 1 communal player that we kept forgetting about.
I hate that kind of stuff.
And it's not a deal breaker. It's just it's frustrating because you forget it. It's a small thing. Night Cage does it too. If there was only one way, I just wish that there was a way that you could do it without, and have it scale a little bit.
Yeah.
But so far, it's made only as a 4-player game, and that's what it stays at. Either way, it is a fantastic game. I highly recommend it. The Spill, fantastic.
I really do need to get this one played.
It's awesome. It's really good. It's probably out of all those games. Oh man, I played a lot of really great games, but yeah, it's up there. It's up there for sure.
I think out of the 4 I talked about, Horrified's probably my favorite, just because I really, really enjoy Horrified a lot.
Yeah.
But out of the two new ones, I would have to say Architects of the Coliseum defeats Foundations of Rome for me.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Yeah, there was something about that. I wonder how it would play with more players now.
Yeah, I know. That's my big thing is, like, I liked it at 2. I wonder how well it would play.
That's right.
Moving on. But with that being said, let's get into our topic.
That's right. We've been delaying this too long. We want to get into this topic. What games would we relive that first game experience? These are talking about games. A few of these games I had only ever played once before.
Okay.
So I'm curious to see how that would compare. At least maybe.
There's only one that I've ever played once.
No, I've played all of these multiple times before.
There's only one.
I wanted to make sure
once.
I avoided that.
Yeah.
That was because it's like, okay, well, I've already experienced that first play experience.
Yeah.
And maybe that would just mean, I just want to get it back to the table, But
No,
purposely avoid it.
I'll talk to it when I get to it. But what's interesting about my list here, I got a combination of, there's a few campaign-style games that I would want to relive that again.
Yeah.
Some games that really surprised me, and so they can't surprise me anymore. I want that, that shock aspect.
Yeah.
There's some new, there's some old.
Yeah,
So.
exactly. Well, let's see how it goes. Did you put these in any particular order?
I put them in my 1 through 8. Like, there's my 8 is something that I want to relive that experience again, but it's kind of like the cheaty pick. Everything else, I kind of want to see that.
Same idea. Cool. All right. Let's begin. As always, I have my coin of doom. Let's flip. If it lands on tails, you'll be starting us off. It hit on the side, which is almost broke my fingers, but you'll be starting us off.
All right, so my first pick is my cheaty pick, and this one is a campaign game, and it's not really the first experience, but it's one of those because it was one of the first. It is the first campaign game I've ever played, and it's the first time you've ever experienced that twist. And this for me is Pandemic Legacy Season 1, because the first play of it, you're basically, oh, it's Pandemic, okay.
Yeah.
But when you get a little bit further into the game, I think it was like the 3rd or 4th play of it, when you're like, Ikumi?
What?
What?
Uh-huh.
What are you doing here? And it's just something you're never going to get back. Nothing really is going to give you that kind of a shock. Because now you're sometimes expecting, okay, what's the twist going to be? What's going to happen here? What's going on here for a lot of these legacy games that are out there? And so for me, this one had to go on my list, but I knew it was kind of a cheaty pick because it wasn't the first first play. It was
Right.
It was the 3rd or 4th play, but it was the first time I've ever played a campaign style game.
Yeah.
And so I'll never get that experience because now you're expecting the surprise. You're expecting the shock. What are we going to do next? What's going to happen next? And so that's why I had to at least put this on my list because you're never going to get that experience again.
Right.
And so for me, it was Pandemic Legacy Season 1.
Cool. My number 8, I knew we were onto something that very first time I played it, and I didn't know what I was getting into when we played it.
Mm-hmm.
And it has since become a tradition in my house. Every year in Halloween, I'll now play this game. Because that first time that we played it was so over the top and ridiculous that I couldn't help but put this on my list. And it took me a while to remember it. This is the one that I at least want to remember because I tend to have a great experience every time I play it.
Yeah.
But the first time I play it, saying, yes, my gatekeeper, every time the VHS yelled at you. Yeah. It was just so dumb. I didn't know what to expect. I was like, okay. My friend brought it over really excited. He was like, have you ever played this? I was like, I never even heard of it. What are you talking about that? He was like, do you have a VCR? Yeah, sure. Go ahead and put it on. He's like, all right, we got to do this. And he was like shutting off the lights and like turning up the volume. He was like, all right, let's try this. And we played it. And then I remember very distinctly like going, okay. He was like, call me. Every time you acknowledge me, call me. Yes, my gatekeeper. Okay. What? Yes, my gatekeeper. That's better. Like, how did you know? Like, I couldn't help but go, wait a minute, hold on, something's here. Like, they really planned this well. And then I remember very distinctly, like, right at the end, like, we're just playing it like normal, like, okay, whatever. And the last 5 minutes of the game, when it's counting down and the music is getting more and more intense, and you're like, oh, we could all lose this? Oh. And, like, we're speed rolling. Go, take your turn. And we're racing to the end. That was an experience unlike any other. I didn't know what to expect. Now I know it, and so it's less impactful. But when we did that, that was so hilarious. Nightmare is my number 8.
All right, flip the coin. Back to me. So my next one is another campaign-ish style game.
Yeah.
In fact, I actually bumped a game off this list because I'm like, you know what, this makes more sense for me. And this one technically is the first playthrough where you're like, wow. And this one for me is Time Stories. When you're playing that based box scenario, you don't know what to expect. You don't know what's going on. And you're having to use so many time units to explore this and find out what's going on. And my God, the first time I played Time Stories, it just blew my mind what it was doing. Because you have to go to a location, but if you're the only one at the location, you have to describe what's going on there. And then it's kind of an escape room. In a sense, you have to figure out the puzzles in this game and how to use them to help you win this scenario. And the story was really good. Mind you, I haven't got that far into Time Stories, but I've beaten the first 2 chapters for sure. Right. The third one, we were playing it, but it stopped. But the first 2 were really good. But that first one, man, it grasps you because you're like, okay, this is what games could become with the storytelling and okay, this is what's happening here. Let me describe what this said. Oh, this guy over here told me this, so we should go look for this, and then it led us down like a dead end type situation. So it's just you never get that back.
Yeah, you never will. And it was the gateway to a lot of the other scenario games too.
Yes,
that was the big part about it.
And so for me, I want to get that experience again. I want to relive that exploration, that feeling that you would get from this game. And the second scenario, Marcy Case, kind of gave that to you a little bit, but it just wasn't the same gravitas that the first one did, because you were just like, wow, what is going on here? This is pretty cool. Yeah. You can't get it in the next chapters. The next chapters have their own twists and turns, but that first play of Time Stories is what really gripped me.
Yeah. Good pick. My number 7. You ever have those games where you play it and you sit back for a minute? You're like, I would play that again right now. Mm-hmm. Like I would gladly just let's not even put it away. Let's play it again. Like that kind of level of enjoyment. I showed off one of these games this last week at our local comic shop to one of our patrons, and he asked me about it. He was like, "Yeah, can you show me it?" I was like, "Sure." I brought it open. And I was having as much fun watching them play it as I would playing it. Because I remember very distinctly that very first time I played this game, I sat back and I was like halfway through it, I'm like, man, this is just hitting every cylinder. Century Spice Road. Mm-hmm. Speaking of Emerson Matsuuchi, this had to go on my list. I fell in love with this game the minute I played it. And so I had recently shown you how to play Bazaar, which I referenced earlier. I already knew how to play Bazaar prior to playing Century Spice Road, and I already really liked Bazaar. So when I found this, I was like, "Oh no, this is like a deck building version of Bazaar."
Yeah.
Oh man, like why is converting spices into other spices so fun?
Exactly.
It makes no sense.
It's so simple too.
And it's so simple. Like you could take a card. Okay, I'll just take a card. These are great cards, and I had so much fun playing it. It has no right being as fun as it is, but that was really just one of those satisfactory experiences that I wanted to play it again and again that same night, which I rarely want to do. But that out of all the games that I've wanted to play a second time in that same game night, that is by far the best one I have done.
Okay, that sounds pretty cool.
Spice Road.
I really do enjoy that one a lot. Splendor, I'm not a fan of Splendor, so the first time playing it, I was kind of like, eh.
Luminous brought up Splendor. I do like Splendor quite a bit. And Seventh Continent, which I still need to play.
Yep.
All right, number 6.
Starting with you.
So number 6, I was relieved after I played the first time on this one. And what I mean by that is I was just barely getting into modern games.
Okay.
And I had heard about this game, but I hardly saw it played. I'm talking within the first year of me getting into modern gaming. Okay. Maybe even before you and I met.
Probably. I didn't get into gaming. We didn't meet till 2014, so it's probably way before that.
It was a while ago, and it might have been just real close to that. But either way, I remember seeing this game. I'm like, I'm hearing things about it. I finally discovered Board Game Geek, and I'm seeing people are liking it. But I'm about to spend $45 for just a card game.
Oh, I know what it is.
And I was like, I've spent a lot of money on Magic because I knew I loved Magic.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a big box of 500 cards, and I don't even know if I'm going to like it yet. $45 is a lot of money. And my kids were still pretty young at that time.
Yeah.
You know, my daughter was probably only like 2 or 3 years old. So I was very cautious going into this. I had similar experiences with Ticket to Ride, but being a $50 board game, I was scared on that too. But I was genuinely nervous about a $45 card game. And that's Dominion. But after I played that and experienced deck building for the first time, I was like, wow, okay. Money well spent. The wife liked it, which is rare amongst a lot of games. She was willing to play it. We enjoyed the combos. We played it again and again, multiple nights in a row.
Yeah.
We enjoyed every bit of it, and we got expansions. We enjoyed that. I bought all the expansions. She got overwhelmed. I haven't played it since. And, but it's still like every time we bust it out, we're like, man, we need to play this more. This is such a good experience. And that sense of satisfaction where it's like, man, I did my research. I was so nervous about this. It all worked out. I am so happy. This is now in my collection. This is never going away ever again.
Yeah, so I'm not a huge fan of Dominion. It's fine. I'm okay with it. My thing is, I had a deck builder on my list. That's the one that just got bumped from because of Time Stories. And that was Ascension. That was the one that really showed me what deck building could be.
Sure.
But yeah, no, I don't disagree with Dominion. It was an experience for you. The problem with me when it came to Dominion, I played a bunch of deck builders before I finally tried Dominion, and it's like, it's a bit boring compared to what I played. So
yep. Yeah, no, I don't blame you, and that's why I feel like a lot of newer gamers, like, they're like, oh yeah, I've played Star Realms, I've played this, I've played that, and they're like, have you played Dominion? Nah. And then they play it, they're like, yeah, this is boring. Yeah. It's like, I get the whole thing. It is nostalgic.
Yeah.
But just going into it, like, a deck builder now you can get for $20. Like, that's not an investment. That's an impulse buy at that point. But a $45 game that's just cards.
Yeah,
I get it. That's a scary thing if you're not into games.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when you're new to it.
Yeah, nearly $50 for anything is a lot before you know you like it.
First board game I ever bought was Betrayal at the House on the Hill because my wife really, really liked it, and that was $80. And both of us were like, man, that's a video game. Yeah,
Betrayal it's one of those levels. And yeah, Nocturne was a cool expansion. Prosperity was an amazing expansion. And there's a newer one, like Adventurers or something like that. That was a fun one. That brought back a lot of my love for Dominion.
All right, so moving on to my number 6. This is one of the more recent games that we've played. And this is the one where you were mentioning, I think in your number 7, where it's like, okay, we played that. I could totally play this one again right off the bat because it was that good. I really, really enjoyed this one. And I was giggling the whole time. I was playing my asymmetric character on this one. And this has the coolest piece that is just a cool piece that helps you play the game better, and this is Planet Unknown.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just.
I totally thought you were gonna pick a different piece when you were like, it just has one cool piece. Just go.
Yeah,
I thought you were gonna pick.
It makes the game much easier to play because the Lazy Susan is amazing in this game. But yeah, no, when I was looking through how I was gonna make this list, and I was looking at my plays and all the games and my that I've played lately, my Board Game Geek, I was like, oh man, yeah, Planet Unknown. This is the one that I said I've only played once, but I want to play it again. That's how much I love that experience, and I don't think I'm going to get that big experience again because of this one, because I know what to expect now. But when we were sitting there, you and me were listening to how it's explained and played, and you're like, okay, that makes sense. All right, I get what that's doing here, and this is my character doing this, and your character does that. But then as we kept going and playing, and like, oh no, I got to pick this one because it's going to be the best here, and then it's just like, oh, and then like after like the third or fourth round of it, I guess you can say, both of you and me were like, damn it, Dom.
It's so good.
It's so good. To the point where I had pre-ordered a copy, and I'm just waiting for mine to come in. So, I don't think that's going to be as cool as his copy because he's the Kickstarter version. But still, I just had to buy this game because it was that good.
Yeah.
And that is Planet Unknown.
Good pick. All right, our number 5. you'll be starting us.
All right, my number 5. This one is a relatively newer one. I do have a version of it. I own a version of it. But this for me is more of the surprise factor. I'll never get that surprise again because I avoided this game. I was like, I don't like the chibi style. I am kind of, not really, but I can't really put that into words, but I'm like, okay, this is fine. It looks a little too simple for me. Not that it's something I want, even though I'm a real fan of Cool Mini or Not games. And for me personally, I gave this to a friend of mine as a birthday gift. And he's like, okay, let's try this out. I'm like, all right, cool. I don't own it. I'll try it out. And I was very sad I didn't buy it because it just like, how is that so good for what it is? And that is Marvel United. This was my pick here. I really, really dug this game the first time I played it, and I was very hesitant. I'm like, that's a lot of money for chibi arts. It looks too simple for my taste. I know they were going for like a younger audience, so I'm like, I was very hesitant on it. And I'm like, you know what? I don't need all that stuff. Let me play it before I decide to, money sink into it. And so I played it, and I'm like, well, now I have to go find myself a base game. This way I have my version of it. And me and a mutual friend, Gamehead Geek, made a trade. He got one game. Looks at Wall of Shame. Actually, don't worry about this little section of the Wall of Shame over here. That is actually been played.
I think Luminous meant there.
Oh.
It's so sad.
Well, it's just because everybody knows this part right here is my Shuffle of Shame. But, yeah, so to the point where when they released, we're going to do X-Men Marvel United, I had to do the all-in for this, because not the super all-in. I didn't get any of the Marvel stuff.
Right.
I just got this because Gamehead Geek had all the Marvel United stuff, so him and me could just switch, like, here, you want this? Okay, let's trade that for we can play here, for I can try it. So, but yeah, this one just really, really hit the spot for me.
All right. That's a great comment. I like Marvel United. All right, my number 4. We're number 4, right? Or number 5.
Yeah.
My number 5 was a game that the very first time I played it, it was in prototype form. And it was this massive, grandiose game. And I remember very distinctly giving feedback to the designer and one that he started chuckling and the whole group started laughing to the point where they actually put it in the game. And this is Millennium Blades. And it's such a meta game.
Very much so.
The designers of it are hilarious. The whole premise is that you are basically living out the entirety of being in the world of a collectible card game. Like, this is like 10 years of like you collecting a collectible card game distilled into like 2 hours. And it's ridiculous. It's over the top. It's absolutely... I agree the paper money is chintzy, but the fact that it's in stacks is satisfying. That's a great solution to that. But yeah, like playing with those pieces, all like thousands of cards now, like you're never gonna have too much stuff. And I love how all the backs of the cards look like booster packs. Because really, when you're buying a booster pack and you live in a collectible card game lifestyle, you want the rare, and that's the rare for you. They all have fun abilities. The actual gameplay of it is interesting because you have real-time market selling and buying these cards. You basically get your allowance every week, and then you're going into this, and it's all just playing on the idea of like you are this collectible card game person. It's you could tell it came from a labor of love. It still is a labor of love. It was hilarious. Level 99 really knocked it out of the park with that because it's such a cool game. And when I first played it, I played it in prototype form with like 500 sleeved blank cards, which is like abilities and stuff. I mean, no, it wasn't quite that old. Like they had some art for it.
Yeah.
But they were testing it out. And and I thought that game was so hilarious. And to the point where I anxiously waited for like 2 years until they brought it to Kickstarter, funded it, and I absolutely I still enjoy that memory to this day. That is one of the few games though I've only played a handful of times, and I want to play it again. All right, you could have kept talking while I was about to sneeze, but yeah.
Yeah, now you know how it feels.
I'm this guy. No, but I thought this was a great experience. So my number 5, Millennium Blades by Level 99.
All right, moving on to the next one. Number 4.
I'll start us off. So number 4, I've always kind of been intrigued by abstract strategy games. And this game alone, the very first time I played it, I found it at a thrift store. And this is, again, when I was first starting off learning about collectible card games. I found this at a thrift store. I bought it. And I read the rules. And I was like, oh. And I read a little bit more. Oh, wow, this is different. And it wasn't complicated. It's a Connect 4 in a row.
I thought it was going to be that one.
Quarto. This game alone made me want to collect all of the ones in their entire line. And I adore Giamatti for making these wooden games. Yeah. They made them back in the 90s. The mathematician created this game. All you have to do is put 4 in a row. Simple. But each piece is different. And you have to put either 4 of one attribute in a row. Either tall or short, square, circle, hollow, solid, light, or dark. That's it. First one to get any one of those 8 attributes, 4 in a row, who places that piece wins. But the catch is, and this is what
I know this is why you like it, yep,
is you hand the piece that your opponent places. And if he or she puts down the winning piece, they win. So you have to create a situation where they are handing you a winning piece. I still don't see that any other game.
Yeah.
Like, there's no other games that have done it yet that I have seen. And please correct me if I'm wrong, because I want to know that. It's as smart as chess. It's an incredibly strategic game. It's way easier to learn than say chess, for example.
Oh yeah.
Like, not that chess is complicated, but like to get sufficiently good at it, like it, a few plays and you'll be very competent in it. Yeah. So you never feel that the other person is smarter than you. You just feel that they outplayed you. And that's a really fine balance. And that little twist, just of you have to hand them the piece to place, that's what set it apart. So the very first game I played of this, I'm like, whoa, everybody calm down. Like, this is intense. When I read that one rule, I'm like, oh, that's totally flips everything on its head. That's one of the triggers that got me into modern gaming. And I've probably played that game more than 100 times since.
Jeez. I don't think I've played a game 100 times at all. Well, I close on some.
Adore Quarto. I will gladly keep playing it. I love it.
Awesome.
Anytime anybody wants to play me Quarto, if you meet me in a convention, let's play Quarto. I'm in.
So my next game here, my number 4, is one of the newer ones. It's my last campaign game that I said I had a few on here. But this one, you would understand it because you had the first play experience of this one. Yours was a little different than mine because it's someone you played with. But this one is Corey Konechka's first game breakaway from Fantasy Flight. Mm-hmm. And this was the Initiative. Oh my god, this was like, okay, this is really cool. I love the comic book aspect of it. I love the code breaking aspect of it. I love the fact that even if you don't succeed on a level, you move on. You keep going. And I really liked a lot of what it did, but that first playthrough, you're like, okay, that's really cool. I like what it's doing here, and I want to see what more is coming for it. And the problem is, again, because of that campaign style, I will never be able to get that first experience again.
Right.
It's quite simple, honestly. It's one of the simpler games on this list, and it just it hit. I really, really, really enjoyed that one a lot. And so for me, my number 4 is the Initiative because it's so simple. You're basically just playing a game, trying to break some codes and move on and see what's going on. But what's even funnier about it is you're playing a game within a game because you're playing characters playing a game. So it's very meta, but I really enjoyed this one, and I'm sad I would never be able to get that experience again, especially how lackluster the end was for us.
You know what? This would have been on my short list now that you brought it up because I want to relive that first experience, but I want to change something from that first experience.
Not let your mutual friend touch the...
He, I swear, he's a savant. I mean, it's not a complicated first puzzle.
No, it's not.
He looked at them and go, yeah, okay, I know what it is. But we hadn't started the game. And I was like, come on, like, I know you're smart, and I know you do this stuff, like, you love puzzles like this. There's no way you know it, like, without even a single letter, right? And every letter we got, he was like, yep. Like, I already know what it is. Like, I mean, he might as well have
What you
written
should
it
have
down.
done is like, okay, if you know what it is, write it down on a piece of paper when we finish this.
Right. We should have, yeah, to check to see if he was just lying. No, I trust that he wasn't, because he's that smart of a guy.
Yeah.
But it's just, like, that alone just cracked me up so much. I would relive it just to be like, no, don't look at the puzzle, no.
Let's just
Not
turn
allowed.
it this way.
Right? Not allowed. No. My number 3, this is number 3?
Yeah, we gotta flip the coin now.
Oh, yeah. My number 3, speaking of, it's a game that I played before I got into gaming, really. It's one of my older favorites, and when I was in high school, I had, quite a few friends that were in different games, like Magic the Gathering and all this. And I had heard of this game, because everyone sees it at, like, garage sales and stuff. But one of my friends taught it to me, and this was just a really happy point in my life. They taught me how to play Moncala.
Oh, okay. It wasn't the one I was thinking about.
Which one were you thinking of?
The card game that you always make everybody play.
The card game that
I don't want to say if it's not on your list.
It's not on my list.
Okay,
Right.
cribbage.
No, it's not cribbage. I didn't learn that till, like, about college days.
Okay.
But no, this is Mancala. And I had seen it. Everyone knows what a Moncala board looks like, right? And what the pieces are, but nobody knows how to play, right? And one of my friends taught me how to play. And I just remember that we would just be hanging out for hours, just me and my friends, just playing hours and hours and hours of Moncala, and just it was such a satisfying. It's not so much that I wouldn't relive necessarily the game part of it, because I do really like Moncala. I think it's a great game, but I would relive that time frame. It's a model of a time for it. It's kind of like when you hear a certain song on the radio and you're like, you know what, that brings me right back to a certain memory. Moncala is kind of like that for me in my high school days, which was a good time for me. And so it's very nostalgic to me, and I would continue to replay that game and get that same nostalgia every time. So that was a bit sappy, but that's why it's my number 3, Moncala.
Yeah, I really don't blame you. When it comes to like that experience, that's the reason why I still really like reading comic books and stuff like that, because it brings me back to a good period in my life when I was reading them, like on the activity bus, coming home from school, or coming back from a game or stuff like that. That's why I'm really into like the comic book movies. I get it. I get what you're saying here. That you just was able to equate it to a board game. I can't say that other than Risk for me, and that's just because I have memories of playing with my dad.
Yeah.
But my number 3 is kind of like that, only it's more recent, and it's a game that is controversial in a sense that some people really, really like it and who are big fans of it, and then there's some people really, really hate it because it's really, really popular. And this for me is Wingspan. Yep. And the reason why it's on my list is going back to what you were saying. Stonemaier was kind of on my I had Viticulture. My buddy had Scythe. We really enjoyed those games, and this was like the game that was hot, really hot. And we were like, both of us were on the fence about it because we were like, okay, I want to play this because one, for me, I like birds, and he was like, well, it's a Stonemaier game. I really like Scythe. I like Viticulture. We should try it when we were going to Dice Tower West. The first time it was Dice Tower West in 2019. We're like, okay, let's go do this. Let's go have fun. It's going to be on the hot table, so let's go try it out. First time we played it, both of us were like, oh, this is good. This is really good. I really enjoyed it. And it just brings back memories. Every time I play Wingspan, teaching it to friends or playing with a group of friends who really enjoy Wingspan too, because of the engine building aspect of it, it brings me memories there. It brings me memories in going back to the Dice Tower West. Is probably one of the most fun I've ever had playing board games because we stayed up to the wee hours. It was in Vegas, so we're doing all the Vegas trip stuff as well. So for me, that's why I really want to relive that first play, because it's just the whole memory aspect of it, because it was a big trip, and then everybody that we played there, it was the 3 of us, everybody fell in love with that game. And to the point where I bought it, then he bought it, and our mutual friend just plays my copy of it because I go over to his house all the time and play games. Yep. So, but Wingspan, that had to go onto my list.
Good deal. Good choice. All right, number 2.
All right. And this one's going to be me. So, going on to the nostalgia side, the reliving that first playthrough, this is the game that really showed me what Euros can do. And I really, really enjoyed that first play of it, to the point where, like, oh, I got to get myself a copy of this. And I'm just going to set a picture here. The first time I played this game was when we were at the shop, in the old shop, where you had like that side room for board gaming. Is one of the few months that you and me kind of started hanging out and becoming friendly. It's 2014, and you're showing this to me, my wife, and another couple who moved away. But when I played this game, I was like, because I was really only playing like the Ameritrash games, the King of Tokyo's, the Arkham Horrors, that sort, or the Firefight, which is kind of Euro-y, but you know, the thematic stuff to it. This one has no theme to it, but it's such a great game. And this is a Stefan Feld, and made me fall in love with Stefan Feld. And this is Castles of Burgundy.
Yep.
I remember going, oh, that's cool. Oh, I like doing that. Okay, I'm going to do this to sell this to sell this. I really need to get up on the boats because I want first player to get better choices because I really need those goods. Yeah. And so, yeah, for me, this hit and showed me what Euros were capable of and what Stefan Feld was capable of. And now I have like a whole shelf just for him. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I really, really dug this one. So, Castles of Burgundy, my number 2.
All right. My number 2 I just added to my list right now, which we will be... Oh, yeah. Yeah, my number 2. I just added to the list because I wasn't originally going to put this on the list. Mm-hmm. And the more I talked about nostalgia and all that stuff, and that's the whole point of this list. It's not nostalgia, but just like
what the experience
that very first game, what it did to my life was ever changing, and I would absolutely go back. I remember when I was about 12 or 13 years old, my brother's teaching me this game long before I was into gaming, right? Which now that I realize it is the same age as my son.
Okay.
That this could be his critical moment because this has not only created one great memory, this created a whole slew of amazing memories for me. This was back in 2001, I want to say.
Oh yeah.
Yep. My brothers taught me how to play it. I started getting into it, and I remember very distinctly going into Coas Books for one of the very first times I've ever been in there, which is our local used bookstore, still around, still amazing. Looking into the glass cabinet, finding a deck of these cards from Magic the Gathering.
And I was gonna say, is it Magic?
Mercadian Mask set, the blue Merfolk deck, and I bought it because it was blue, and that was my favorite color. And I was like, okay, I like nautical stuff. Let's buy this Merfolk deck. And I remember happily taking it, like carrying it with me to the car, bringing it home, and playing with that deck against my siblings. And that is still with me 22 years later.
I'm surprised that this wasn't originally on your list, and the fact that it wasn't your number 1.
See, here's the thing. I became part of the lifestyle, and it's something that I still play to this day. I still play Magic, and I still appreciate it.
The thing is, I have cards for Magic. I still own them. I haven't played in a while.
But I have gone through so many years of playing this, and so many different experiences. It's hard to pick just one.
You're aging yourself, by the way.
That's fine. But when I started talking about the nostalgia of Moncala, and thinking it's like, I can remember my very first deck of cards, which one I bought, why I bought it, where I was when I bought it. It can't not go on my list. Yeah. I was trying to justify for it not to be, but because of that one memory, that doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. You don't remember. I very, very little remember about like my school days. I don't remember any of my elementary teachers except for my 5th grade teacher. That's it. I have pretty bad memory about back then. But I sure as hell remember that one deck of cards that I bought. And I've bought multiple copies. Every time I see it, I'm buying it. Because that is such a satisfying memory for me. And I greatly look forward to my son creating those memories at in his age right now. That's more than nostalgic. That is ambitious. And I love it. That is my number 2, Magic the Gathering.
All right, we're going to our number 1s. Who's starting it? And that would be me. Okay. My number 1, it's kind of nostalgic too, but I also remember, wow, this is gaming. This feels really good. And it's not what everybody would pick. Right. But to the fact, the reason why this is number 1 is because this game is actually cooled off for me for 2 reasons. 1, it's older, it's longer, there's better things I want to do with my time. And 2, we played this so much, especially at 2 players with me and my wife. And this was Dead of Winter. It's nostalgia. When we were living in our old apartment, not the one when we started the podcast, but the one first when we first got married, we had this little card table. We would bust it out on the table, and we would spend our night playing that game. As a straight co-op, then you can do it. There's a 2-player variant in it. You just play it at its hardest mode. You don't have like a secret person. You're not a traitor itself. You still have your secret goals that you need to do, but you're still working it as a straight co-op. But oh my god, it's a good game for what it was. But it's really long. It takes a lot of time. The crossword cards tend to get lost in the shuffle all the time. It's like, oh yeah, we're supposed to be pulling these cards from time to time because you're so concentrating on everything else you're doing. It really showed me a good zombie game without the zombies being the focus. And that was the big thing, is because Zombicide was a thing then. There's a few others. It wasn't as big as Zombies got, but this one was like, everybody was calling it, was it The Walking Dead? A board game where it is The Walking Dead, where you're dealing with more of the people rather than the zombies. The zombies are just there to help push the game along because you're trying to keep your barricades up, making sure they're not overrunning the colony and stuff like that. And this, I wish I can relive that experience, because busting it out, playing the 2 players in the old apartment, we just newly married. I think we were in our first year of marriage.
Him and his wife, by the way.
And so it brings up the nostalgia, but it's also because it's a game that's cooled off for me because we played it so much. It's one of those games where everybody always talks about, like, oh, I played this 100 times or something like that. This is probably, in the early days, one of my most played games of all time. I think there's games that have surpassed it now, but at that time, we were playing this one a lot. This one and Betrayal at the House on the Hill were the 2 big games we played early on. We even made a house rule for Betrayal on the House on the Hill where we play 2 players, and then when the traitor happens, all the characters move over to one person unless they're the specific traitor. Yeah. And so it's still Dead of Winter just hits on so many levels of memories of that experience, spending those late nights with my wife. And mind you, my wife worked nights at the time, so we were used to staying up. So it'd be like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. We've played like 2 games in a row of it because of the campaign style, the story modes and stuff like that. So yeah, Dead of Winter was my number 1. It was the first game on my list. I was like, nope, that's number 1.
Yep. Good. All right. My number 1, and this will probably be no surprise, but it's a little bit of a cheat, and I'm going to explain why. Out of all of the games that I talked about today, there was either something that was really impressive about it that really surprised me about the first game, or it's heavily, heavily tied to nostalgia.
Yep.
My number 1 is specifically, I know I will never relive that first play ever again, but I still have memories of that very first time I brought open this game and played it. And I say it's kind of a cheat because it's 2 games, and you've already talked about both of them. Time Stories and Pandemic Legacy Season 1.
Awesome.
I remember that one game, and none of the other games after that even compared to it. But that very first time I played Time Stories or Pandemic Legacy, both had the same impact on me. Is I remember, do you remember Pandemic or Time Stories? And I'm going to give, technically, it's not even going to be a spoiler. I'm going to be talking about the very first picture that you see when you open up the base game of Time Stories. And I remember that little girl with the long hair, black hair, painting a picture.
Yep.
Looking like she's from The Ring, right?
Yep.
And you can go over there and look at that picture as one of your actions.
Yep.
That is the first memory of that game. And I remember it so vividly that as soon as I read that, and I looked at the card, and I set it down, and I described it to people, that was what set it a million times higher than most game experiences. I obviously know it now, and I still remember it fondly. 7 years later, that's really says something about the game. And then that first game of Pandemic, because I had already played Pandemic a million times before that.
Yeah.
Now we all get to open a box and unlock some stuff.
Yeah, but
Wait a minute. What are you asking me to do here? This is like, I knew what I was getting into, but I didn't really know what I was getting into.
First time I made you tear something up?
The first time you made it tear something up. I remember my wife, for some reason, the first card she tore up, she took a little... and then just looked at me like I was about to hit her or something. Like, which is never done before in my life. But she gave me that look like, are you... like, because I told her, I was like, yeah, tear up the card. I was like, you read it? You need to tear it up. She was like, I mean, really, like, you're giving me permission to tear up one of your pieces. Yeah. That's what the card says. Destroy it. And she was just so nervous to do it.
Yeah.
Like, that very first time, I'm like, destroy it. And she tore it and looked at me. I was like, it's what the game said.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's what it said. Do it.
We actually burned a card.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true.
Didn't really want to burn too well.
No, they don't tend to. But yeah, oh man, that very first game, I would gladly relive that one experience. Now knowing what I know, I can't wait for the next level in board gaming that creates that.
That kind of, yeah.
That I will be 100% on board. I will love it. I don't care what I have to do for it, but I want that experience again in my life.
I don't blame you. I feel the same way.
Good deal. So, what a heavy podcast, man.
Yeah, that was a cool one. I like this one a lot.
That was interesting. We'll be talking about ideas for the next podcast or two, probably after our stream here. So again, if you're joining us live, like our friend Illuminous, hang out in the chat. We'll talk some more. Otherwise, we definitely want to thank you for listening. If you ever want to join us on a live episode, first off, follow us on twitch.tv/everydayboardgames. And if you follow us, you can get notifications when we do film live, normally about once a week. And also, you have a chance to win that bad boy back there. By all means, if you subscribe right now, you get some automatic tickets. So, get in on this. I don't know why you're waiting. Do it. Come join us on chat. We'd love to hear back from you.
As well as all video re-uploads found on YouTube at Everyday Board Games 2020. And if you like what we do there are 3 things you can do to help us grow on the platform. Subscribe to get a chance to win that game, like the video, and comment down below and tell us your thoughts on the subject. As well as all audio versions can be found on most podcast platforms. This includes, under Everyday Board Games Podcast, this includes Spotify, Google, Amazon Music, and Podbean.
And if you ever want to contact us directly, and you definitely want to right now, because, again, our code word is hazelnuts.
So put in the subject line, giveaway.
And then email everydayboardgames2020@gmail.com. Again, that's everydayboardgames, all one word, 2020@gmail.com. And enter that into the subject line, giveaway, and in the body of it, put hazelnuts. And please put your name and like what city you live in, just in case. That would help us out. But
yeah.
By all means, email us directly. That way you can enter in for bonus tickets and listen to our next 3 podcasts, because we're also going to have a chance to give away that with more code words. So stay tuned.
All right. And you can also get in contact with us at our official Twitter account at EBG Podcast, and that is another ticket for the giveaway.
All right. So we want to thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I've been your host, Daniel.
And I've been your host, Daniel.
And we want to thank you for listening to Everyday Board Games.
And remember, every day's a good day for board gaming.